Welcome back to the channel. All right, the reunion 7-star selector is coming up very, very soon, right? We're going to get that from the calendar and all those things. So hopefully you have the opportunity to select this. It was frequently requested for me. I didn't think I would have time to make the video, so we covered it in stream. And I've been doing streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're going to continue that into the future. And I realized, you know what? If I go back and I edit it, this would be a really, really solid video. Help a lot of people out. Let's go over the selector crystal, right? So it is the 7 stars. And I would imagine most of you are familiar with my channel, the way I think about things, the way I think about the game. And so you know what I'm going to say. The best champion for you to select is the one that you enjoy, and not just because it's a game and you should have fun, but also pragmatically because you're probably going to know how to use them. You're going to enjoy them, so you will play them. And therefore, when content is difficult, which is when decisions like this matter, whether it's the defender or the note or whatever, it's just more difficult. You're going to know how to play them. And so you're going to get better results out of a champion that's in my 3rd tier or the 4th tier of my tier list, because if they're on the tier list, that means they're at least worthy of considering ranking. We don't rank the not good champions, okay? And so you're going to know how to play them better. And so you're going to get better results with them than if you ranked up or selected the champion I have higher rating that you have no idea how to play. So it's more fun. It's also pragmatic and also therefore more fun. So keep that in mind throughout all of this. The science champion, who is the science champion for this crystal? Oh, okay, IHulk. He may be the most extreme version of this, where you're just probably never going to use him in competitive battlegrounds or competitive war because of just literally the way he works, right? He does damage to himself. In war, yes, DLL did add that synergy with Absorbing Man that I think protects him from dying due to, I can't even think of the name, assassins, right? If the defender's running an assassin. But just so frequently, there's a variety of superior options for the things you're going to be wanting to do in war. Similar thing with battlegrounds. Now, there is cases, there's ideas that he might be a really good defender in battlegrounds. The health pool is massive, right? The whole healing concept, the immortality could buy you time. Plus, if somehow the defender or the attacker makes a mistake and he gets in the stun, you're probably dead. Your opponent is probably dead. He's a phenomenal quester, though, right? For people who are relatively new to the game, there was a YouTuber named Buddy Lee. I actually got to know Buddy for a little while. Really, really cool guy. Really do like him a lot. And he did phenomenal things with IHulk. We're already seeing that in some slightly longer form, or what's supposed to be longer form content. But IHulk can do so much damage so quickly that he can just brutalize it for you. He's a champion that I'm not upset that I have. There's one champion in particular that I do want. And so not getting that one has kind of irked me. Not a ton of utility as far as like the Petrifier, things like that, right? I think that's what comes off of his signature ability. So there's not a ton of utility there. So that's why you're not going to see him, despite all of this massive damage, not being very high in my tier list. I think the game frequently in tougher content asks for these sorts of things, right? And the science class has come so far. But if you want to beat the crap out of stuff and have a great time doing it, there might be no one better than a Hulk Immortal. Nagase has shown this recently, and I believe Adamantium, one of the spreadsheet wizards, has shown. And that's why it's like, it's supposed to be long form content, but Adamantium and Nagase have shown how quickly IHulk can get those things down. And it's like, that was not that long of form. I think it's like 1 minute and 30 seconds to take down Destroyer and things like that. So he is a little AI reliant. That is true, and definitely requires a lot of skill. I agree with both of those things. Those often do go hand in hand, right? The higher skill champions do tend to have more reliance on manipulating the AI, which is a skill. All right, so I could see people reasonably thinking he's the best champion in the crystal. I could also see people reasonably thinking he is literally the worst. I think this one could be really cut and dry. I think she is almost certainly the quote-unquote worst champion in there. I think she's good enough to be in a crystal like this. Jaeger on my Discord server, right? The guy that was here, he was here earlier. He's one of the first ones that really clued us into how quick Luke could be in battlegrounds. I was very unaware of that. I really liked Luke's buff. One of the things I said is like, I don't know if he's gonna be quick enough for war and battlegrounds. The answer is he obviously can. I've taken my own Luke to rank 3. If we have time, we'll do some Luke Cage stuff today in this stream. Mysti does have that loop where she can kind of stay unblockable. The thing is, the damage isn't amazing off of it. There's just not that much more to say about her. Jaeger is trying to kind of maximize her. He's a very smart player, and he's been showing that on my Discord server. I just honestly don't have that much more to say about her for 2 reasons. One is I do think she's probably objectively the worst in a very good pool. And also, as a result, I don't know as much about her. So I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you guys. Okay, White Magneto. We will probably talk about this for a good period of time in the tier list video that's going to come out tomorrow. I haven't recorded it, so I need to see how long it's going to be and do the editing on that. But he was a topic of lengthy conversation when I presented the updated tier list to the Illuminati. DLL badly wants to awaken his because Magneto. So if you get Magneto and you're going to rank him, I think you're going to want to get him from the Selector. And it is due to, kind of both bullet points, but in my experience, it's the first one. Magneto's bleed and armor break debuffs gain up to, just at Sig 1, it's already almost 50% duration based on how many bonus special, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's a pretty long time, and that is a large part of his damage. If you're bringing him along, the mutant class doesn't have, it's not like littered with champions now who have that whole passive stun replacement, which is why a lot of people wanted to bring along Magneto, Wags, I call him Wags. But, so there are options if you don't have him nowadays. But it's not like they're littered. It's not like every champion's got that, right? We've got Onslaught and Negasonic Teenage Warrior. This is also a good champion. He was overshadowed by the outstanding, amazing, eye-catching nature of the red one. But this is a champion who we actually had at times in the second tier of the tier list, which is extremely good. And he's one of the ones that's just slowly fallen down due to the mutant class getting stronger over the last 3 years. More champions having that passive stun replacement ability, so you didn't need him, and also he wasn't available as a 7-star. That's literally it. So this is a champion. I listened to a podcast that makes fun of that phrasing, but I can see why. But I'm hearing myself say it so much. Magneto is a champion that I believe will definitely move up now that he's available as a 7-star, because we'll remember how powerful he actually is. He will help you and your whole team get better. Remember, he has incredible synergies with some of my favorite champions. They might not be on his side. There's this one with Professor X. If you're a Professor X player, you're probably already aware of this. With Guardian, so there's some really nice teams, and Guardian's phenomenal for your team too. So that's actually a really fun team there as well, is Guardian, Professor X, and Magneto. I remember there was a period of war where I just couldn't get them all ranked enough to utilize them. He's really awesome for, I think it's the final quest node. I'm not seeing it, so maybe it's not him and I'm misremembering. But he's honestly a very awesome, solid champion. I think he'll probably end up moving to the 3rd tier. And if you were going to take him, if you were going to rank him, I do think you want him awakened, though. So keep that in mind. Almost literally everything I just said about Wags, as far as champion that came out really, really powerful, not available as a 7-star, their class they're in, of course, improved and evolved during that time. Literally all of that, you could just take it, apply it directly to Venompool. When Venompool came into the game, myself, DLL, and Campo, and I think Campo did the full video on it, and it was a legitimate debate. Who was better, Venompool or Venom? It was a legitimate debate. Now remember, this is before relics and strikers had come into the game, and that's been a lot of what's propelled Venom to the high reaches that we're now seeing, okay? But he was still a great champion at the time. People were using this to take out Penny Parkers. This was a great Penny Parker counter before Hulkling and Gallon came into the game. He is a little more tailored toward your non-nuke fights. So it'll be interesting to see if he has any role to play in Battlegrounds now that the classes are so rich. He was on some of the initial Battlegrounds tier lists. Remember also, I think this is very important. This is very important. Because especially if you're a relatively new player, you might not know this. Venom's SP1 is a true nullify. So nullify immune stuff, whatever. Can't do it. Can't do it, right? Well, Venompool is an Omnom. So he's not affected, basically, he doesn't play by the same rules, let's say, as a nullify. Very cool. Multiple damage sources, right? Doesn't he have the degen, I think, as well? And then he has fantastic synergies with some really cool champions that, Falcon can be kind of boring, but as I like to say, if you find winning fun, he's not that boring. So I think he's great. You see Venom's on there as well, too. Symbiote Supreme, that sort of thing. Captain America Infinity War. This one with Sunspot, right, and Human Torch. There's Nimrod and Bishop. So these are really powerful champions that he's got these great synergies with as well. I don't predict he's going to make a huge, let's call it like waves in Battlegrounds, but I do believe that you'll start seeing him used in War and in questing and those sorts of things, because he's even got like a really, really nice ramp, like once he gets going. So now this is the champion that I most wanted, because I believe he will make the biggest difference in Battlegrounds immediately. There's not a lot of like, oh, I think this, or, if this falls this way or whatever. No, the only reason why this 6-star isn't being used, I think at least a bunch, is because literally of the prevalence of 7-star rank 3s and rank 2s at your more competitive levels, right? And then again, so that's going to be a lot of like, what level are you trying to play at, right? I'm contented finishing Quantum. I'm actually contented finishing even below that, if that's just where I end up, because I tilted or whatever the kids call it these days, and I lost 10 in a row. I'm like, I don't got 8 hours to spend climbing back up to Mysterium 1. I just don't. I think it's really cool that some people do. I just personally don't. The other thing that we're going to point out, and we'll talk about this more in the tier list video, is he controls combat power rate, right? A lot of that's with his battery. I often shout out Trappy's channel because I think he's a really smart player, and I also find him very funny. But he has a really great video on Punisher 2099 Unawakened. So if you pull him, or if you're like me and you haven't pulled him and then you get to the Selector, watch that video. It's really nice. Essentially, just the too long didn't watch, although you should go do that, is he's going to get into his kind of battery mode about 10 to 15 seconds faster once he's awakened, and that helps you control the combat power rate. He has incredibly powerful synergy with Captain America Infinity War, and that can help replace that not being awakened. So if Battlegrounds aren't that big of a concern for you and you like playing with Captain America Infinity War, hello Ozfan, hopefully you are watching, my friend, you're going to have a great time. And the other incredibly important thing is, and we talked about this in Illuminati, was he doesn't need to land a debuff to do any of this. This lives in his kit. I'm not saying he's as powerful as America Chavez. I want to be abundantly clear on that. I am not saying he's as powerful as America Chavez, but that's exactly what you've heard me say about America Chavez in like probably 8,000 videos by now. Is one of the things that makes her so powerful and tough to slow down is that everything lives in her kit. It can't be purified. It can't be neutralized. It can't be whatever the hell they're calling nodes these days. Like, it can't be the node where you get a buff, because they're not buffs. It all lives within her. And so it provides tremendous like breadth of what they can take, right? You can go and you can fight like Kingpin, I believe anyways. If someone knows that you can't, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't like tested this. But like Kingpin, you don't need a debuff to land and stay, right? This is why I like America Chavez for Kingpin. I don't need a debuff to land and stay. And I can control combat power rate and build up my cycle and things like that. So for me, this is why Punisher 2099 is, by a large margin, by far my most wanted. By a large margin and by far. I'm doubling down on that. And it's because I think he's going to be great in Battlegrounds. He's going to be very usable in War. If you're playing Tier 1, it's whatever's designed and whatever the map in front of you is asking for. Going to be great in questing. Long form, probably not, but maybe. But I mean, how much true long form do we get these days, right? Like even Crucible, Punisher 29 could definitely have helped you and taken Crucible level health pools and things like that. So for me, this is the number one, and you will see that reflected in the tier list that comes out tomorrow. And then we'll very quickly cover the last champion is Man-Thing. Without a doubt, I'm going to go out on the limb. And Jay, if Jay Will's still here, is I think that Man-Thing, I'm not predicting that he starts defining the meta like the way like Bullseye or Serpent has. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I think even your Celestial level Battlegrounds players are going to have to start thinking, oh shit, what if I run into a Man-Thing? And I think that's why he's here. I very much do. I think that's why Kabam has put him in the game. Is there's a bit of Silk probably not going to do this. Your Human Torch as a 6-star Ascended probably not going to take out your 7-star Man-Things, right? This is a good defender. What does he do? He allows crits, but he removes all the additional damage, I believe it is. Yeah, there it is right there. You can see it. The man made of mush. Poor Man-Thing. He's like, it's not mush. He's supposed to be an imposing figure, and they're calling him mush, like he's mashed potatoes. But it's the last thing there, right? And prevents critical hits from dealing bonus damage. So your nuke science champions that have this massive crit damage and things like that, or can just get fights over with quickly, not going to be able to do it against him. B McG has done a tremendous amount of Man-Thing videos with the 6-star, so check that out for offensive use. And someone else has recently too that I watch, and their name is escaping me, and I'm sorry if you're out there or viewers, if you're like, no, so and so has done videos on 7-star Man-Thing, let me know, say it in the chat, and so I can repeat that out there, because I always want you all to see the great content, and there's some great content out there. B's done some really nice stuff, I know, with his 6-star as well. Offensively, right, he's got that armor break and the pustules and the poison damage. I tend to run Mystic Dispersion 5/5. In fact, I just pretty much constantly have it on, so I often get pushed to my SP3 with him, but it's fine. He's got a really nice play style. So he's not a nuke. He's not going to help you like bust things down super fast, but he does have a heal. You saw what he does to crit, so he's going to be pretty tanky for you, and a really good champion.